Yo, what is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NBA slate on DraftKings for Monday, January 22nd. I do have some pretty big news, I guess, regarding the videos. I am going to be giving my 5 plays out again. I'm going to start doing that. If you are new to the channel and wondering what that is, I used to give out like 5 kind of just early looks, early guys that really stood out to me. And then I quit doing it just because I felt like people were kind of watching the videos just for the 5 plays and actually weren't tuning in for the whole video. But I have gotten a lot of requests, like since I stopped giving them out, to go back to doing it. So I'm going to give out 5 plays in my videos just from here on out. Just know, guys, that I record these the night before, so nothing's set in stone. The 5 guys that I give here could definitely be 5 guys that I'm not playing, especially with NBA and how many injuries occur throughout the day and just how the slate will change with one injury. So just know before you plug these 5 guys in your lineup and just like build a lineup around them, I do record these videos the night before, so nothing is set in stone. And don't just set your lineup and then forget about it. Always need to make sure you're keeping up to date with injury news throughout the day, and be ready to change your lineup if you need to based on injuries. But yeah, guys, before we get started looking at this slate, just make sure you guys drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that way you'll never miss out on any of my new uploads. But anyways, looking at point guard today, starting up top here, got James Harden, Chris Paul, John Wall, Damian Lillard. A lot of good options up top here. James Harden and Chris Paul definitely not in the most optimal spot. Going up against Miami, the Heat are pretty solid defensively against the point guard and shooting guard. Harden still does have a pretty relatively nice price tag though, just $10,200. That is pretty cheap for him. He played 35 minutes in their last game against Golden State, so I would say Harden pretty much the minutes restriction's gone for him. I expect him to play full minutes in this game to what we were seeing before the injury occurred, him getting 35 to 40 minutes. And I think I would prefer him over Chris Paul, even though Paul's been playing a lot better. Paul is a little bit cheaper, but he's definitely in a little bit of a tougher spot. But like I said, Paul has been playing better lately. He did put up 65 DraftKings points their last game against Golden State. He's been really consistent, but you're not really getting a ton of savings, only $500. I think I prefer Harden over Paul if we're talking about those two guys, but I don't think either of these guys are really players I'm trying to plug in my lineups that I'm really trying to jam in. Same with someone like John Wall. I don't think John Wall's really ever a guy that I'm trying to jam in on, especially a big slate like today with 9 games. I never feel like John Wall is a player that's really going to burn me. He just never goes off for like 60, 70 DraftKings points. And in 9,400, I think we can find cheaper options at point guard today. I would say my favorite play here to pay up for is definitely Eric BLEDSOE at 8,200, going up against Phoenix. Little revenge spot here. We obviously know BLEDSOE left Phoenix this year to go to Milwaukee. So a revenge game. Played really well against them earlier this year. Without Giannis, Giannis was out in that game. He's going to be out today. Without Giannis earlier this year against Phoenix, BLEDSOE played 45 minutes against them and put up 49 DraftKings points. Had a really nice game. In their last game against the Sixers, Giannis was out in that game and BLEDSOE played 38 minutes, put up 29 DraftKings points. So not the best game from him just in the last game, but this is a much better matchup. Going up against the Suns with the revenge narrative. Definitely like Eric BLEDSOE here at 8,200. We'll talk about Chris Middleton later. I think I prefer Middleton over BLEDSOE, just getting exposure to the Bucks. But BLEDSOE is definitely a guy that I like on this slate, even though he's priced up to 8,200. I just think given the matchup, he has a lot of upside. He can get 45, 50 DraftKings points in this spot. So he's probably my favorite option to pay up for if we're talking about point guards like 8K or more. But definitely some good mid-tier plays at this position and some value that we can go to as well. If we go to this mid-tier, I think there's a good play here that really stands out to me. At 5,200, sort of a value option. Definitely Ricky Rubio. He's going to be one of my 5 plays for today. Just looking at this slate the night before, Rubio is a guy that really stands out to me. Pretty good matchup against Atlanta. Bad team defensively against the point guard. Rubio's cheap at 5,200, and he's been playing really well lately. His last 3 games, he's put up 27, 32, and 30 DraftKings points. One thing we'd like to see is that Rubio's getting really consistent minutes. 29, 32, and 31 minutes his last 3 games. Rubio's always a guy that when he gets minutes, he can definitely put up the fantasy points, can get you points, rebounds, and assists. We'll kind of do a little bit of everything, especially given today's matchup with the how consistent minutes have been for Rubio lately. If he's going to get 25 to 30 minutes against the Hawks at just 5,200, I definitely like him as somewhat of a cheap option today. He is a guy that really stands out to me at point guard. Just looking at that 5K price range. You also got Rondo at that same price. He was in a revenge game going up against the Bulls. Obviously, we know he played for the Bulls last year. You could go to Rondo, but I think I prefer Rubio over him, just given that they're the same price tag. We don't have any news on Malcolm Brogdon, but he could be a really good option at 5K if he plays today. He didn't play in their game on Sunday or Saturday. He didn't play the Bucks game on Saturday against the Sixers. Looks like due to personal reasons. Haven't seen anything about him like not playing today, so I have a good feeling he's going to play. And without Giannis, that's also going to be an upgrade for Brogdon, and he really didn't see much of a price increase. Unlike Middleton and Bledsoe, both of their prices rose a lot. Brogdon's still cheap at just 5K. Great matchup here against the Suns. If he plays today, I definitely like him as a guy you can use at point guard or shooting guard to kind of save some salary. But the other option I see at point guard, the last value play I really see here, another one of my 5 plays, definitely a guy that I think really sticks out today, JERIAN Grant at 4,900 with a matchup against the Pelicans. Great matchup here. Pelicans really bad defensively against the point guard. With Chris Dunn out today, JERIAN Grant going to draw the start. Should be looking at nice minutes. He did start in their last game against the Hawks with Chris Dunn out, and Grant played 26 minutes and put up 27 DraftKings points, so he got about a DraftKings point per minute. If he's going to play 25 to 30 minutes against the Pelicans, bad team against the point guard, I think it's very likely JERIAN Grant is able to pay off this price tag. So even though his price has rose a bit up to 4,900, I still think he can get 25 to 30 DK points in return value on the salary. So him and Rubio, 2 point guard plays I really see on this slate the night before. Those are 2 guys that really stand out to me. If we're just talking about guys that are sub 5K, I think Grant's the option that really catches my eye. You could obviously go to other plays like Isaiah Canaan. I think he's been playing pretty well lately. He's cheap at just 4K. He's had some really nice games as of late, putting up 28 DraftKings points against Denver the last game, 26 minutes. He's been seeing consistent minutes lately. We obviously know Mike James is gone, so that's going to free up some more minutes for Canaan. But I just have a feeling we'll get better value on this slate, and we won't really need to go there. So that's what I'm seeing at point guard today. Moving on to shooting guard, and looking at this position, there's definitely an option here that really stands out to me. You can obviously tell by the cover. Chris Middleton at 8,700, a guy I'm really trying to pay up for in a matchup against the Suns. Although his price has rose way up there to 8,700, I still think he is worth his price tag, especially given today's matchup. In the one game this year against the Suns, Giannis was out in that game, and Middleton put up 63 DraftKings points in 46 minutes, had 40 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. Giannis missed their last game against the Sixers. Middleton played 40 minutes and put up 61 DraftKings points, had a triple-double in that game. We know Giannis is going to be out today. Love Chris Middleton here. He just gets so many shots, going to see a lot of usage, going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He put up 20 shots in their last game, dished out 10 assists, grabbed 14 rebounds. Was just doing everything. So I still think he is a great play on the slate, even with the price increase. I think that might keep some people off of him. They see Chris Middleton 8,700. Not sure if people are going to want to pay that price. But with how he's played this year without Giannis on the court, love Chris Middleton as shooting guard or small forward. You can play him at either position. Definitely a guy I'm trying to pay up for on this slate. There are definitely other players in that 8K range to where Middleton might have some low ownership. You got Devin Booker, 8,900, Lou Will, Tyreke Evans, even BLEDSOE, shooting guard eligible. So some of those guys might draw ownership and keep Chris Middleton's ownership a little bit low today. But looking at other shooting guard plays that we can go to, I don't think I'm paying up for like any of these other guys. If I'm paying up at this position, I really like Middleton here and I like BLEDSOE. So I just doubt I'm going to be on like CJ McCollum, Gary Harris. Not sure these are guys I'm really forcing in today. Drew Holiday. I just don't think these are guys I'm trying to jam in. So maybe looking for a little bit of cheaper options if we want to try and save some salary at shooting guard. In this 5K range, I do see a play here. DENZEL Valentine at 5,200 with a matchup against the Pelicans. With Chris Dunn out for this game, DENZEL should be looking at some more point guard duties. Will have the ball in his hands a little bit more with Dunn off the court. You do have to worry about the minutes, though, for Valentine with Zach LaVine coming back. That has moved Valentine to the bench. His minutes have dropped a bit. But like I said, with Dunn off the court, that does give Valentine an opportunity to dish out a couple more assists since he's going to be handling the point guard duties, going to have the ball in his hands a little bit more. Definitely like Valentine at 5,200. If you want to go to him as someone you can use to save money at shooting guard. Same with Malcolm Brogdon at 5K. I think he's a really good option today if he plays against Phoenix. I like him as a value play. And then sub 5K, there is a guy here that stands out to me, Kelly Oubre at 4,700 going up against Dallas. If you just need like a cash play, consistent play, I think Kelly Oubre is your guy. He's just been so consistent lately, 25, 27, 22, 35 DraftKings points. The minutes have been consistent, 29, 35, 27, 31 minutes his last 4 games. He's still really cheap at 4,700. I'd say you want about 25 DraftKings points from him to really return value on the salary. He's been living right in that range lately with upside for more. He has upside to get you 6, even 7x on this price tag. So Kelly Oubre, another guy I like as a value play, a guy that's cheap, a shooting guard that you can use. I think he's a really good option. And that's really what I see for shooting guard. At least options that stand out to me. Could go to Tony Snell at 4,200 with Giannis out. He did start in their last game. Played a decent amount of minutes. I know he put up like 20-something DraftKings points. Yeah, 26 DK points their last game, 38 minutes. Snell isn't usually a guy I like to roster because he just kind of stands in the corner. But this is pretty much the best possible matchup for any player going up against Phoenix. So he does make sense on the slate as a guy you can use with Giannis going to be out for this game. Snell should be looking at another start, looking at some nice minutes. He's still pretty cheap at 4,200. So if you're going sub 5K at shooting guard, Snell, Oubre, two guys that I really like at this position for value. But moving on to small forward, looking at small forward on the slate, do have Giannis up top here, but we obviously know he's not going to play today. So looking for other small forward options that we can go to, there is a play in this mid tier that I really like, 6,300, Josh Richardson going up against Houston. Now right now as I'm recording this video on Sunday night, we don't have any news on Goran Dragic or Tyler Johnson. Both of them are listed as questionable, so we're not sure if they're going to play. If Dragic and Johnson are out, Josh Richardson, a really good option in my opinion. Richardson's usually a guy that sees pretty nice minutes just every night. He usually plays 35, 36, 37 minutes a night. But if Johnson and Dragic are out today, the minutes could bump up a little bit. Gonna have the ball in his hands a lot more if those guys are out. And he's been consistent lately, putting up over 31 DraftKings points in 4 straight games. And this is a fast-paced game against Houston. Miami will be playing up in pace here. So definitely like this spot for Josh Richardson. You can play him as shooting guard or small forward. In that 6K range, I think he's a really good option just at this position. But another one of my 5 plays is going to come from this position in this mid-tier small forward. James Johnson at 5,600 going up against Houston in that same game. Love James Johnson here, especially if Dragic and Tyler Johnson are out. In their last game against Charlotte with those two guys out, James Johnson didn't play a ton of minutes, only 29 minutes, but he was handling the point guard a lot. He had the ball in his hands. Had a really nice game, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Their last game with Dragic and Johnson out. And he didn't see much of a price increase either. He's still pretty cheap at 5,600. Great fast-paced game here going up against the Rockets. Love James Johnson as a mid-tier sort of play. Think he makes a ton of sense on this slate, especially if those two guys miss again. And then trying to go sub 5K, maybe we want to try and find value at small forward. You got Kelly Oubre here at 4,700 who you can play small forward. I like as a value option. Also got Tony Snell as well. That's really the value I'm seeing at small forward. Definitely think we're going to be wanting to go to the mid tier here, getting exposure to Miami because I feel like that's the team we're going to be looking at for plays today. Josh Richardson, James Johnson, two guys that I really like at this position. But moving on to power forward, looking at power forward on this slate, definitely have some studs here we have to consider paying up for. Boogie and AD both up top here, going up against the Bulls. Not much of a price difference between these guys. They're just $100 difference with Boogie being the more expensive. Right now, as I'm looking at this slate the night before, I don't think I'm going to have the salary to pay for these guys. Just because I really like Chris Middleton on this slate, it's going to be hard to fit in Boogie or AD with Chris Middleton. But you obviously know these guys are great plays. If I have to pick one today, I usually always go with Boogie when they're similar in price. But this is definitely a much better matchup for Anthony Davis, so I think I would roll with AD today. But it's always hard to pick which guy's going to have the big game. It could be Boogie some days, could be AD. But just given the matchups, I think power forward, Chicago definitely weaker against power forwards than they are against centers. So I like this spot for Anthony Davis. If you want to pay up for him on the slate, I think he's fine. But like a guy like Chris Middleton, really someone I'm trying to pay up for. Just if I have to pick a stud on the slate, Middleton definitely my guy. But looking at other power forwards that we can go to, definitely an interesting spot here for some of these Bulls bigs like Markkanen, Mirotic. We'll talk about Robin Lopez later on. These guys are going to have to play minutes. They're going to need guys with size on the floor to go up against Boogie and AD. So Markkanen and Mirotic could be looking at some heavy minutes. They're not very cheap. They're 67 and 6,600, which isn't very cheap price tags. As tournament plays, I really like them today, but definitely not cash options for me, especially when I can get those Heat guys for a little bit cheaper. I can get Richardson for cheaper. I can get James Johnson for over $1,000 cheaper. But I really like them in tournaments. Markkanen and Mirotic think they make great GPP options today. If we're looking for other options like in this similar price range, I think we could go to Derek Favors here at 5,600 in a matchup against the Hawks. Definitely a good spot here. Hawks have struggled defensively just against bigs this year. And even with Rudy Gobert's return, Favorites has still had some nice games lately. Put up 35 DraftKings points his last game against the Clippers, played 32 minutes. And he has seen a big price decrease down to 5,600, so we're getting some savings on Favorites today. If you're going to that 5K range at power forward, he is definitely an option that really stands out to me on this slate. But trying to find value at this position, if we're going cheap here, I think there is definitely a value play we want to target if he plays today. Jarrell Martin at 4,400, going up against the Sixers. We know Joel Embiid and Marc Gasol are going to be going at it this game. So Martin shouldn't have to see much Embiid. We obviously know Embiid's a really good defender. If he plays today, I do like him as a value option. We already know that JaMychal Green is not going to play, so Jarrell Martin will definitely be in the starting lineup if he's able to make it for this game. And he has shown upside when he's gotten minutes. 31 minutes against the Knicks, 30 DraftKings points, 35 minutes against the Pelicans, 22 DK points. Pretty cheap at 4,400 for value on this, or for him to return value on this price. You really only need like 21, 22 DK points. And if he's going to start and play 30 minutes against Philly, I would say it's likely that he's able to get there. So Jarrell Martin, if he plays today, is a value option that I see at power forward. Looking to go cheap at this position. He's really the value option that stands out to me at this position. Not sure if we're going to be able to go like sub 5K here just because I don't see a lot of plays, at least looking at this slate the night before. Could go to like SKAL LABISSIERE at 4,300. We know the Kings are going to be resting their veterans for the rest of the season. 2 or 3 veterans are going to rest every game. And if Randolph is one of the veterans that rest today, that could lean to LABISSIERE getting some more minutes. He has played consistent minutes lately, 28, 29 minutes his last 2 games. And he's pretty cheap at 4,300. If he's going to play close to 30 minutes at this price, you definitely have to consider him as a value option. So SKAL and Jarrell Martin are 2 plays I see sub 5K at power forward that we could go to for value. But moving on to center. Looking at center today, plays we want to target here. Looking at some of the top options here, definitely like this spot for Karl-Anthony Towns at 9,500. Going up against the Clippers. We don't have any news on Jimmy Butler if he's going to play or not. If he is out today, that could lean to Karl-Anthony Towns getting more opportunities to score the ball. In their last game with Jimmy out, Cat only played 28 minutes because he got into foul trouble. But even in 28 minutes against Toronto, he still managed to put up 41 DraftKings points, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 block. And we know DeAndre Jordan is not going to play for this game, which could lean to a better matchup for Karl-Anthony Towns. So I like him here if you're looking for centers to pay up for. I would say he's my favorite option. Doubt I'm going to be on Embiid on the slate. This is a tough spot for Embiid. Going up against Marc Gasol, one of the best defenders in the league. Not going to be on Embiid, especially when he's almost 10K. But looking for other centers that we can go to. Another one of my 5 plays, my 5th play is going to come from center. Guy I really like today at 8,100. Dwight Howard going up against the Kings. Great matchup here. Kings really struggled defensively against the center position. And they've just kind of struggled to defend bigs all year. Howard lately has been playing really well. Just look at his last 4 games. 41, 52, 48, 43 DraftKings points. Been very consistent. He's got a double-double in 4 straight games, at least in his last 4 games. And he's been seeing nice minutes as well. Been playing mid-30s in minutes just about every game. And the only reason he played 29 minutes in that game against Washington because the Hornets won by 24 points. It was a blowout. You do obviously have to worry about blowout here going up against the Kings. But if Howard gets his full minutes, if this game stays close, love him today on this slate. I think he has a lot of upside here. Definitely a guy I'm going to be plugging in some lineups today at center at 8,100. But looking for other plays at center that we can consider. Maybe if we want to go to this mid-range, you got favorites here. Don't see a lot of plays that I haven't already talked about. At least plays that really stand out to me. Could go to Clint CAPELA against Miami. Going up against Whiteside, although Whiteside's a big, lengthy guy. He's not the best defender. He's pretty slow. And Capela's pretty cheap at 6,600. At that price, you really only need about 34, 35 DK points from him. On the year, he's been averaging 34. So if you're looking for sort of a salary saver at center, a mid-tier play, Clint CAPELA at 6,600 is definitely a guy I like. But if we're trying to find value here, go sub 5K. I did mention Robin Lopez earlier. I like him as a value option at 4,600 here, going up against the Pelicans. This could be a spot where Robin Lopez plays 30-plus minutes if this is a competitive game. Earlier this year against the Pelicans, he played 42 minutes, put up 26 DraftKings points. Lately, he's been seeing consistent minutes, but they haven't been very high minutes. Last 4 games, 29, 24, 22, and 25 minutes. But like I said, they're going to need guys with size on the floor to defend Boogie and AD. I said that earlier. So Lopez could be looking at 30-plus minutes here at just 4,600. If he gets you 30 minutes, 25, 26 DraftKings points. You'll definitely take that at this price tag. So as a value option at center, he's a guy that I like. You also got Jarrell Martin for a little bit cheaper, who's a good play if he plays today with Michael Green out. But that's what I'm seeing at center, at least looking at the slate the night before. Some options that really stand out to me. So I think that's pretty much it for center, guys. I think that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. Make sure you subscribe as well if you have not already. And like I said at the beginning, guys, don't just plug these 5 guys into your lineup, fill out the 3 spots, and then think you're going to win money. It doesn't work like that. You got to stay up to date with the news throughout the day. Make sure you're at your computer close to lock so you can adjust your lineups if you have to, according just if news comes out. With NBA, you always got to be prepared to make changes to your lineups. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and good luck on this slate tonight. Peace.